As if the wrestling news wasn't big enough last night. Oh, hell yeah. I could be coming back. Yeah, we heard about that, but now someone's leaving All Elite Wrestling. One of the founding members of All Elite Wrestling is out of the company, and this is confirmed. We're getting into it on a breaking news video from Sportskeeda Wrestling. Jump into the comments below, get on screen, share that link, or you stay.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Yes, you can see the news right there. Cody Rhodes and Brandi are out of All Elite Wrestling. This news confirmed within the last hour by Millennial Meltzer himself, Sean Ross Sapp. Speculated last night by big old Papa Dave Meltzer, pre-Millennial Meltzer, the Meltzer of the previous millennium. I'm Kev Kellam. That is SP3. This is Sportskeeda Wrestling. Wow, Sid. Sid, you are one of our lead experts here on All Elite Wrestling in our coverage of them. This is a huge, huge story. Probably one of the first really big stories of 2022 in terms of wrestling, in terms of different things. We have the potential of Stone Cold Steve Austin coming back for a return match. That was within the last 24 hours. It always comes in these giant waves, right? We never get the news spread out. I'm trying to do a radio show for 104.9 the X in Rockford and 97.7 QLZ, and they're like, can you tape out an hour? And I had to call somebody like, what? Wait, what? I was like, we got some big wrestling news, guys. We got some big wrestling news. Cody Rhodes leaving All Elite Wrestling. This is confirmed by both parties. Seems like a very amicable split. What do we know? What are the details? And how did this happen?
Well, like you said, Fightful Select. If this wasn't a plug for getting Fightful for Select over the last 24 hours of Stone Cold's return first being reported, and now today Cody with Brandi leaving AEW. Sean Ross Sapp reported around about, I would say maybe an hour ago, around 10 a.m., that Fightful had learned that Cody Rhodes and AEW have yet to come to an agreement, and word among the wrestling world is that the two sides have been unable to reach an agreement, and Cody could be leaving the company and is headed to WWE. He then followed that up with a further report about like 30 minutes later, and he said Cody Rhodes and Brandi Rhodes have left AEW after they could not come to terms on a new contract. Fightful was told by AEW sources last Friday that Cody sought a big money deal, and several didn't think that a re-signing was going to happen. By that night, numerous people inside and outside the company had knowledge of the situation and were of the belief that Cody was leaving the company. However, inquiries started to come to Cody directly over the weekend, which he claimed were spun. Shortly before the announcement, WWE officials were made aware of the situation and also knew that an announcement would be dropped. Fightful heard that the two sides have at least had discussions, but WWE was well aware that an announcement regarding Rhodes' departure would be made at 10 a.m. And like literally minutes after Fightful reported this, AEW made it official with a statement on their Twitter page and social media saying that Cody and Brandi Rhodes were integral into the launch of All Elite Wrestling. Cody's ability, combined with his boldness and his passion for our industry and his love for community outreach, helped AEW deliver on our mission to give fans that they needed what they needed for far too long, something new, innovative, and lasting. Brandi helped us shape the AEW story, and I appreciate how hard she fought for both in the ring and out of the ring, competing in the women's division while advancing our efforts at inclusion and civic causes, including great partnerships with Culture City and the American Heart Association. I have immense respect and appreciation for Cody and Brandi, and I wish them both best as they move on from AEW. Thank you, Cody and Brandi. And the statement was from AEW CEO, President, General Manager, and Head of Creative, Tony Khan. So It was a lot to take in like a 15-20 minute stretch, but this, like, we always say with these reports, and especially when it comes from Sean and Fightful Select, they do their due diligence, and where there's smoke, there is usually a fire. I've used that term a few times.
There's a lot more than a fire here.
A few times, and you touched on it at the beginning, Kev. We had like a 48-hour period where we got the news that CM Punk was returning to wrestling and that Bryan Danielson could potentially sign with AEW within 48 hours.
You and I did those breaking news videos. I remember that.
Now, 24 hours within each other, Stone Cold Steve Austin is returning to the ring at WrestleMania, and now Cody Rhodes could
it's shifting. It's almost WWE. In terms of like the free agency battles, who gets the big names, right? It's WrestleMania season. WWE just had the Super Bowl bump. You know, they got promoted they got promoted significantly on the Super Bowl. A long-standing relationship with NBC. NBC's spending all this money on content. People can say, "Oh, well, Peacock's losing money," but WWE is a big reason why Peacock is still going. And so NBC is now saying, I wonder what's going on here, because there is moves now being made. WWE, they let a bunch of people go, but they locked in Sami Zayn. They locked in Kevin Owens. They locked in several big-name people here in the last few weeks. To get Cody back, that is the first shot back at AEW in terms of getting a name and saying, all right, you want to play ball? You want to play big-time ball? Here we go, Cody. Come on over. We're going to give you X, Y, and Z. Bring your wife over. We're going to give her X, Y, and Z, whether that's money, whether it's a schedule. WWE obviously can spend the money. Maybe the thing is we don't want to have a bunch of lower card guys. We want to focus our money on a bunch of high-end, upper mid-card, feature player talents, and then develop everyone else and have those feature player talents bring those guys up from NXT and so forth. So if that's the strategy, long-term, that does make sense. In the short term, it could be weird, and that's why you want a Stone Cold to come in and do a single match at WrestleMania. But if they get Cody, they're getting him. He's still young. You know, this is still a guy. He's not 40 yet. He's still got a lot of good years on him, not too many surgeries, and also a guy who's got a lot of smarts. This is the son of Dusty Rhodes. This is a guy who just did an executive run in a company that changed your business significantly, and can cut a hell of a promo and have a hell of a match, and loves to do character work. That's another thing, is he was a guy who was developed almost completely in the WWE system, broke out of it, had a great run. Now he comes back. Drew McIntyre did it. A bunch of people did it. So if WWE gets him, it's well worth it. It's certainly going to be exciting to follow. And do they get him back before WrestleMania? I think that's worth doing. I think he's going. I don't think there's anywhere else he should go.
He's a free agent. His contract expired with AEW. We could potentially see Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. And there's a lot of big names that don't have a foregone conclusion like matchup for WrestleMania. Like the WrestleMania card has really taken shape over the last 24 hours or so, where you can see they have 7 or so matches that they can work out, but that's only good for one night of WrestleMania. You still have guys like Seth Rollins, like Bobby Lashley, that don't have just WrestleMania matches that just jump out at you. Someone like Cody coming in is big, and I feel like it's actually bigger than Stone Cold's return, because Stone Cold's return, honestly, it's just more of the same from WWE. I always say Vince McMahon has a control panel, and he has several buttons on the control panel, but they all lead to nostalgia. It's just different levels of nostalgia.
And Cody's a level of nostalgia, though.
It is, but it's different. It's different because literally they jammed into our head during his whole entire run in WWE, and especially through the last year after his father passed away, and they still stuck him under that Stardust gimmick. They tried to jam in our head that Cody Rhodes is a mid-carder and that Cody Rhodes is only supposed to be positioned here. And what Cody did by leaving the company, creating the list, joining up with the Young Bucks, the Bullet Club, the Elite, creating All Elite Wrestling, All In, everything that he was able to accomplish. He had a better run outside of WWE than he did in WWE because of the heights he was able to achieve and the changes he was able to revolutionize this business in a way that could be compared to his father. That's what he did outside of this company, whereas he's coming back to this company. I can make one guarantee: if he's coming back to WWE, he is not coming back to WWE as Stardust. He is not going to do anything that he does not want to do. If he wants to do Stardust, of course, he could go ahead and do it. But what we know of Cody, he doesn't want to do that he could stand on his own feet, and he could be Cody Rhodes, and he could potentially be a new main eventer that they're putting in for the long term. Stone Cold is a WrestleMania nostalgia
It's an attraction.
part. Yeah,
He's
it's an attraction for WrestleMania in Texas. They have to sell 2 nights of 100,000 seats. You need someone like a Stone Cold to come back on one of those nights at least. Cody Rhodes coming in is something that long term you could potentially be bringing in a brand new top star. If they bring him in and they give him an AJ Styles type of push where they establish him as a top star and he proves to them by his work rate, by his promo work, by his character work, all the things that he's been able to do outside of this company. If he could do it here, WWE just got a brand new top star, and that's something that WWE didn't have 24 hours ago.
Just want to clue people in if you're just joining us. I know we have some people that are catching up here a little bit late. Cody Rhodes has confirmed he is no longer All Elite. Tony Khan, president of All Elite, confirming this as well. Can we pull? Do we have Cody's statement up there as well? Do you have that? If we can pull that up here as well. There's a lot of details in this. He goes into a lot. We're not going to read the whole thing because he actually brings up a lot of people by name, and this is obviously not an easy decision for him to make. This isn't just a decision for him. This is a decision for his family. This is a guy who kind of bet his whole legacy on this thing and jumped in 3 years ago with the Young Bucks, with Kenny Omega, and with the owner of a major football team and a major soccer team in Tony Khan. And let's live forever. Y'all did the work. It's not clear whether or not he'll be involved in developing talent for them. He still is the Nightmare Factory, as far as I know. Mm-hmm. It's worth noting, you noted this to me right before we went live too as well, that his brother Dustin Rhodes will remain with All Elite Wrestling, and he has a significant role backstage as well. Dustin saying, no, I'm not leaving. I like it here in AEW. I enjoy that meme there below.
Absolutely. He also put out a further tweet basically saying he loves his brother, he loves his sister-in-law. They gave a lot to
my brother. Never forget that. I'll never forget
absolutely. That. What like if his whole run in AEW would have been just that one match, I think everybody would have been happy. We should also note that Brandi also released a statement saying a heartfelt thank you to every fan that has supported me in AEW. It was an honor to be the company's first chief brand officer. The thank you list is long, so I'll try not to wander. Thank you to Culture City, Special Olympics Illinois, and the American Heart Association for allowing me to cultivate these amazing partnerships. Thank you to every AEW heel that helped me build a dream community of female fans. Thank you to every AEW wrestler and talent that worked hard to create a great locker room environment. Thank you to the production team, makeup team, and Streamsys. Thank you, Dustin, QT, Jerry Lynn, and Leva Bates for every ounce of energy, help, and encouragement you provided. Thank you to my husband for being that constant rock and partner every single day. Thank you to TNT and TBS and Warner Media for treating my family like your family. Thank you to Tony Khan for giving me this opportunity and platform. I move forward with my daughter and this quote in mind: we must take time to define our own path. Too quickly we can find the world defining it for us. Unknown. Also, I'll see you on the flippity flop. Michael Scott.
What is the flippity flop? What is the flippity flop? So let's get into it. I mean, it's confirmed. They're gone. They're out of AEW. This is a blow, I think, for All Elite Wrestling. This is a big player for them. This is a guy who was doing a lot of different things. He had a reality TV show spinoff from them. He got to do the Go Big show with Warner Media. If I'm Warner Media and you brought in these 4 guys and that's the guy you picked to say, we want him to be the crossover guy. You have All Elite Wrestling on TNT and TBS, but we want him on a reality show. We want him on this. And then you don't get to keep him. If I'm Warner Media, I'm not saying I'm upset, but it's like, okay, who's your crossover guy? Who's your mainstream guy that we can do something with that isn't just a wrestling show?
I mean, it seems pretty obvious who they should get to
probably CM Punk.
No, on Go Big Show, you get Paul White.
Yeah,
it just makes sense.
It makes complete sense. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a hit.
This is 100% a bad day for AEW. Yeah. You're losing a guy that is an EVP. If there was possibly going to be big time defection from AEW to WWE. It can't be any bigger than one of their EVPs and building blocks of the company, a guy that helped so many young stars behind the scenes and in front of the camera. Like, there was this argument or this weird type of talk in social media world and the wrestling community that Cody was burying people, or Cody wasn't you was the new Jeff Jarrett in TNA, or Triple H Reign of Terror. That is complete and utter BS. He put over MJF in AEW. Darby Allin got put over and won his first TNT championship against him. He got Eddie Kingston signed through a matchup. He got Ricky Starks signed through his TNT championship matchup. He put over Brody Lee and Malachi Black. Like, the list goes on and on. And Sammy Guevara just got put over a main star on Beach Break with a 5-star matchup where he became the undisputed TNT champion. Like, Cody did so much in front of us and in that ring and out of that ring for this company. This is a huge loss for AEW.
Now, Chris Aldridge with a question here. I know you've been very critical of these segments they've been doing over the past few months, which apparently have gone nowhere, because we're not going to get a resolution on this. This is going to be this is going to be the big loose end. All Elite's had a couple of loose ends. The Nightmare Collective that Brandi had, that went nowhere, right? So there were some things they did that WWE does this too. Oh, you don't like it? Brush it off. And then people are like, well, what happened to it? I didn't like it, but I want to know what's going to happen with it, which is such a silly thing. What does Dan Lambert do? Now, Dan Lambert is from American Top Team, the big MMA promoter, who is a hell of a wrestling fan, knows how to cut a promo, but some people don't like his promos. And he's been doing these promos back and forth with Brandi, and she comes out and says, is it open mic night again? And we're not going to get any resolution.
You got a black belt? Well, I'm a black belt.
I didn't say that.
I didn't say it. I censored myself.
Any strong opinionated women out there? We did not say that thing. Please.
Nope. I'm just quoting Brandi, ladies and gentlemen. She quoted Michael Scott, and I quoted her.
We ain't making the news. We're just reading it. There we go. All right. We ain't making the news. We're just reading it. Chris, what does Dan Lambert do? And the thing is, it is a bad day for All Elite Wrestling. They still have a ton of talent. You know, there's guys on the shelf that are just cooling off right now. Like Kenny Omega will come back, storming back with some cool stuff. You just brought in Jay White. You just brought in Keith Lee. You got CM Punk. You got Bryan Danielson. The ceiling isn't even scratched with those guys yet in terms of what they can do with All Elite Wrestling. So in terms of him leaving now, this spin is going to be put on Wednesday. There's going to be some type of, look what we got. Don't worry. Like, we got all this stuff. And it's fine. You have to do that. You have to tell your hardcore fans, the cult of AEW, the people that will go on and argue with anyone about how much they love, one of us. And I get that. You need to tell those fans, like, hey, it's okay. We're going to be fine. You know, we're still going to sell at arenas. We're still going to do everything. So if you're an AEW fan, like, don't overreact to this. You know, don't overreact to this.
No, the roof is not caving in, AEW fans or anything. It's just,
it was on fire for a minute today.
You lose any top star, it is a bad day for your promotion. And of course, you're gonna see on social media the anti-AEW brigade is coming out in full force, and they are using this to pull out their torches and burn Tony Khan at the stake. So I totally get it.
Wouldn't be the first time recently.
Wouldn't be the first time. And the pro AEW fans gonna walk out here and say Cody never did anything for us. And
which is awful.
And Cody's been trashed the whole time. I have said some bad things about Cody Rhodes. Let me just tell you, because we have a personal rivalry. I've said this before on many different places. He flipped me off back in 2017, right in my face, instead of giving me a too sweet after he gave other people too sweet, people that were less tanner than me. I just want to mention that. And I have 2 biracial babies. He has 1, so I should be solving more racism than Cody Rhodes. But if you're going to solve racism, you got to solve it across the spectrum. And you got to go to WWE. That's the place that's putting the African Americans on. That's what he's got to do. He's just got to clean up shop there, and then he's going to come back to AEW and do the same there.
You made it personal. Cody ain't going back to WWE. He's coming back to Sid's house. He's going to knock on his door. They're going to fist fight. That's what's going to happen. He's coming straight to New York. He's taking off his custom jacket. He's going to yell up to the stoop. He's like, Sid Puller, Get your sorry ass out here. The whole block's gonna see it, and you're just gonna be like, I gotta do a podcast. I gotta do a podcast.
I gotta do a podcast, sir.
You walk out your door. He just jumps off one step into another disaster kick right there on your stoop, just laid out.
Crossroads, right in front of my children.
Crossroads.
God, damn. Oh damn! What a match this would be.
Me and Brandon are gonna go donate to a local charity. You lay out there.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you weren't aware, me and Kev are here to give you some humor because we feel that people are going to take this news way too seriously. Yes. So if you can't laugh and have, I just
love that you immediately were like, also, by the way, Cody didn't twos with me in 2017. So
he did. No, that's a true story. That's a true story.
I know, but I enjoy those interactions with wrestlers as well. I enjoy those interactions. So let's get into what the fans are saying here. Some people saying he's not coming back to WWE. So obviously the assumption is he goes to WWE. That's what Sean Rossap is reporting. Sean would know at this point. He had the inside sources. He broke the story initially about a month ago that Cody was not signed. He was working without a deal. He did work that big ladder match where he dropped the TNT title to Sammy. So he did right by the promotion, right? Yeah. If he doesn't go back to WWE, where would he go? I mean, there are options. But Ring of Honor is not spending the same type of money they did when he was there before. Impact is there. Does he want to go to Impact and have more control? But are they going to pay him? Impact is not going to have the type of big budget money that he can make in WWE. Yeah. So if he's working without a deal, WWE is, and he wants a big money deal and he wants to be featured. All right. He can go back to WWE right now and do some real things.
Absolutely, 100%. We just talked about the guys that they just re-signed with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. We know Kevin Owens got paid $2 to $3 million. If Cody wants like the CM Punk money, which is probably the highest paid guy in AEW. He's not going to get it in AEW because they just gave that contract to CM Punk. They probably gave a big money contract to Bryan Danielson. They probably gave a big money deal to Adam Cole. So this means that the opportunity for you to get that big money deal from AEW lessens. But it won't lessen in WWE when they're getting paid $50 million from Saudi Arabia and they're still getting Peacock money. They just made record profits. They have the money to spend to give him the big money deal. And this is great for them because the one state or one aspect of this whole wrestling landscape that they were losing is fan perception. Why were they losing the fan perception? Not only was it because AEW is putting on a more consistently entertaining to their fans product than WWE does for their fans, it's also because so many people had just left WWE to go to AEW. We just recently heard Kyle O'Reilly talk about he was in the NXT 2.0 locker room and he felt like people didn't really want to be there or be wrestlers and they didn't have the passion for it. So he wanted to go to AEW to be with people that were passionate about the business. That's damning for the perception of WWE. So
and WWE doesn't want that perception.
No, they don't. No. So to have someone that was an EVP, a top star, a building block of AEW, make the jump over to WWE, this is huge for them, and this helps them out where they can push whatever narrative they want to.
We've already had a couple of people say it. What's the craziest thing you can do with Cody? Now, it's worth noting, if you just want to get him on TV as soon as possible, there is a special episode of WWE NXT Tonight, Vengeance Day, though I don't think that's where they should use him. If you wanted to make an announcement and say he's going to be on SmackDown this Friday or he's going to be on Raw next Monday, Cody Rhodes is coming back to WWE, I think that'd be cool. If you just did it on television tonight to ride on this news and like make a big announcement. But that's that takes the light away from NXT. Also, I think Cody's a guy who understands, especially with what he's been doing the past few years and what he's doing at Nightmare Collective. He doesn't want to step on younger talent. He wants talent to step up with him. And he's benefited from that because people did that with him and brought him up. And so he's now in a position where he wants to do that. If him on Monday Night Raw would be a real kick in the ass of Monday Night Raw. I would get him on Raw. I wouldn't do him on SmackDown.
I would do SmackDown. SmackDown needs top stars. They only got Roman Reigns. They only got Roman Reigns on. They got Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre.
But is he coming in babyface? Is he going to get a babyface reaction?
It doesn't matter. They just like they're. How many top stars does SmackDown have? They got Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre. And Drew McIntyre is feuding with Happy Corbin. So I think that his top stardom is lowering. So really, all they got is Roman Reigns. Like Raw at least got Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, Riddle, Edge. Like they got all the stars over there. Like I would think that they are telling Fox something if the Cody comes in and they put Cody, because Austin is feuding with the guy on Raw. So Austin's also going to Raw. So you told me Cody's also going to go to Raw? Like, nah, that would be, I would be, if I'm Fox, I'm calling up WWE. Like, yo, y'all couldn't even give us Dusty, son. Like what? Like how y'all gave them Austin? Y'all gave them Becky? Y'all gave them everybody. We asked for Charlotte, and that's all we get. Literally. Oh man, nah. That would be a bad idea.
I like this one from Jeff. You brought up Drew McIntyre, a guy who had a similar path. Like got frustrated in WWE, had his own issues, left WWE, had a divorce, went and toured the world, refigured himself out, came back in the best shape he's ever been in. And God bless him, he got to be the champion during the pandemic, which I think is something when Drew McIntyre gets a Hall of Fame induction, he will get one. And he will get one because he was the champion during the pandemic. That's why I think he will get one. And he did something that no one wanted to do or would want to be in the position to do, is to have their golden moment in front of no one. You know, like, and so, but if you take that guy who's had that same passion, the same setback, the same failure, and you give it to the guy who's got the silver spoon, but has had the same setback, the same failure, the same up and down, the yo-yo, the histories lay out. They're right around the same age. There's so much you could do there. A Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre match is a put that show on, put that 2 hours, 20 minutes in the middle of a WrestleMania show, and I'm watching and I'm caring. And I think the promos would be great.
I can see it happening, just not at this year's WrestleMania.
No. It's pretty pay-per-view.
They pretty made it a foregone conclusion that we're getting McIntyre versus Corbin. The guy that I would peg, if Cody's coming in and he's coming in before WrestleMania, there's one top star that doesn't have a match. You got Austin and KO. You got Roman and Brock. You got Ronda and Charlotte. You got Becky versus either Bianca or Bliss. You got Edge versus Styles. There's one top star that I haven't mentioned that's pretty huge that was just on Monday Night Raw and won the main event, and I'm talking about Seth freaking Rollins. Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes would be an absolute banger in the ring. Character-wise, I think it would work very well with how, you know, polished and, you know, kind of a he's kind of like the child of the past. He's like the last arches of like WCW and everything like that. Cody coming in to WWE versus this new Seth Rollins character that is part Seth Rollins, part the Joker. I think that they could play very well off each other. You could throw Brandi in there and stuff. I think it would be very interesting. So that would be the person that I would peg. That's a good point too with the Dusty Classic today. But I will say, if Cody signed the big money contract with WWE, he's not going to NXT, ladies and gentlemen. He might go to NXT to do that and congratulate the winner, but he ain't going to NXT full time if he signed a deal for $2 to $3 million.
No. It's like this here. Kim Gray joining us, long time from the show. I'm late to the show. I am shook from this news. Shooketh. She is not just shook. She is shooketh. Thank you for the shooketh. Appreciate that here. We've had several different comments here. I want to find one that's kind of definitive about this. Here we go, from Daniel Price. There's several people that commented this before we wrap up here. Why be dumb enough to pull off a work like that, though? It would be go away self-indulgent SOB kind of heat, not the good heat. So there's several people saying it's a big old work. It's just a storyline. It's just a storyline where you and your wife write these very long, heartfelt statements where you reference people by name, like dozens of different people. You reference your media partner, you reference charities, and then the president of the company who's signing all of these contracts. He also puts out a statement, and there's reports, and then now you're working multiple news outlets. This is not a work. And I can tell you, somebody who works in media, and you understand this, Sid. If this was a work, the media for years would never trust anything Cody says. You would never, ever, ever, ever trust anything Cody says. Like, so this is not a work. This lines up with information. There's stuff I've talked to in the industry. There's people you've talked to in the industry who are verifying these reports. And this does make sense. One shoe dropped, the other one fell down. It is still surprising. I think it's just more the shock because of how much he was a part of this thing. And if you're an AEW loyalist, this is a blow. But don't worry, you still have one of the coolest wrestling shows on air. If you're a WWE fan, cool. Cody Rhodes is coming back. In my eyes, if you're just a pro wrestling fan, this is fun news.
Yeah,
fun new matchups. Cool guys jumping back into the WWE picture, most likely before WrestleMania. It's not a bad story to follow. Not a bad story at all. So, Sid, I know you'll be following this all week long, and definitely plug-a-roo where you're going to be. I know you're not just on the Sportskeeda platform, but we have you on other ones as well.
Yes, I'll be up on the True Heel Heat YouTube channel. TRU, drop the E, and you can go over there and subscribe. We're going live in just a few minutes time. We're going to be talking more about Cody Rhodes.
You're talking about this all day long.
Yeah, probably all day long. So yeah, you can check me out over there. You can see my written work at sportskeeda.com as well as wrestletalk.com. And I'll be back here on Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel on Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time with Kenny Bolin for a WWE Elimination Chamber 2022 preview and predictions. But I'm sure based on how this week has started, I'll probably be back here for some breaking news later this week.
I think so too. Have that text open, buddy. Have that text open in the morning, man. Let's be ready to go. Get your caffeine ready. We're gonna be on top of it. Do want to remind you, join the more than 20,000 fans. 20,000 fans have voted in the Sportskeeda Wrestling Awards. This is our first annual award show. Why are we not doing it at the end of the year? Some people have asked it. We want to do it around Oscar season. We also wanted to have enough time after the holidays. And we also wanted to bring in these panelists we have. Renee Paquette, Booker T, Eric Bischoff, Rob Van Dam, DDP, Vince Russo, bro. A lot of names that you know are all filming content for this and sharing who they voted for in these awards. So go there, vote match of the year, wrestler of the year, babyface of the year, heel of the year. We get a little specific too, so I like that. You can go vote it, and also you could potentially win prizes, gaming consoles, merchandise, and so much more. Sportskeeda.com/wrestling-awards. It is sportskeeda.com/wrestling-awards. Go vote now. Share the link with your friends as well, and argue about who isn't on the list. That's a fun part about awards, is you argue and complain about who wasn't nominated and who should win that is nominated. So go ahead and do that right now. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. You can follow me on the Twitter machine at Kev Kellam. You can follow him as well, SP3. This is a big week, and remember, when watching wrestling, the most important thing to do is not to complain and say this is a work. It's just turn that brain off, boo the bad guy, cheer the good guy, and do what, Sid?
Enjoy wrestling. Because, oh, it's only smoke and mirrors.
I'm going to love hearing that theme song again, dude.
Only smoke and mirrors tonight.